gates of the Maryland Penitentiary a free man after serving 25 years straight, Tadpole dropped to his knees and kissed the pavement, looked up to the sky and thanked the Lord. He had dreamed about this moment countless nights, and his dream had finally came true. He rose to his feet and started making his way down East Madison Street. The year was 1992, and that summer was a real hot one. Already starting to sweat, Tadpole sit down at the bus stop, holding a plastic bag with his prison mail inside. The city still looked the same for the most part. Still dirty, still poverty-stricken, and the streets still had that same grimy smell that he was oh so used to. Yeah, he was home, because even though he had got released from the Maryland Penitentiary, he did most of his time up on that farm in Hagerstown. So when the bus finally arrived, he had to ask the bus driver if he was going to Park Heights. The bus driver assured him he was, and Tadpole got on. Now let's rewind back to the 1950s, West Baltimore, Park Heights Avenue. See, Tadpole's mother, Miss Gilda, worked for the Baltimore City Public Schools for over 27 years and raised all her children in the house her and her husband brought, Mr. Douglas, on Park Heights Avenue. They had 6 boys and 6 girls, a total of 12 children altogether. They were literally one of the largest families in the neighborhood. They was God-fearing people, and they raised their children up in the church, although you wouldn't know from the way they turned out. Now, let's fast forward a little bit to 1992. All 12 of their children is either strung out on heroin or crack cocaine. Some even on both. And Tadpole was no different. He had a bad heroin addiction before he was incarcerated. All his older brothers shot heroin and robbed banks. That was the thing in Baltimore back in the 1990s if you was part of that world. They all had did time in one way or another, but none of them did as much time as Tadpole. See, in 1967, Tadpole was tried and convicted on a first-degree rape charge. It was a pretty girl in the neighborhood who went by the name of Shantae, who had been friendly to Tadpole, maybe a little too friendly. He was ugly with a pockmarked face, looked just like a frog. They called him Tadpole for a reason. But anyway, she was a little bit older than he was, but small in size. She only stood 5'4" tall, but with a curvy, voluptuous body and an ass that stopped traffic. Tadpole was obsessed with her, and she had the slightest idea, because all she ever had done was be nice to him, kind to the nigga, because all the other girls in the neighborhood joking, called him frog face and shit like that, and they was a little harsh in her opinion. But anyway, one evening, Shantae, who was best friends with Tadpole's sister Melissa, was over the house. It was the summertime, and Shantae had on this tight little mini skirt, laid asleep on their living room couch. His sister Melissa was asleep on the other couch across the room. The TV was the only light on in the room. So, unable to control his sexual desires, he pulls his pants down to his ankles and lays on top of Shantae, who was laid on her stomach across the couch face down. But upon contact, she woke straight up instantly and started resisting. But by Tadpole being so much bigger than her, he just covered her mouth with his hand and ripped her panties off, entered her aggressively. Now, his sister Melissa saw everything from across the room, but did nothing about it. In her statement in Tadpole court papers, she states in verbatim, "I thought they was just doing it." But anyway, he took Shantae goodies, and she ran out the house screaming at the top of her lungs. Long story short, his dumb ass tried to represent himself in court. They charged him first-degree rape. He tried to represent himself in court. Them people in there looking at him like he done lost his mind. They done went to college and got law degrees and all that. You gonna challenge them on their own territory with the law. Goosh! 30 years. He ended up serving 25 years on that 30, as he should have. So stepping off the MTA bus, it let him off a block away from his mother's house. So Tadpole took that walk looking around at the old neighborhood. Now, in 1992, Park Heights was off the meat rack. So you can imagine what he saw. When he get up on his mother's front, he walk up on the porch, open the door. When he walked in, I don't know if he was expecting a surprise party or what, but to his surprise, wasn't nobody there but Miss Gilda. When he came in, she gave him a big hug and a kiss, told him he was staying down in the basement, feeling a little disappointed that his family wasn't there to welcome him home, because he was unaware at how far gone his brothers and sisters was while he was away locked up. Drugs had took a serious toll on him. So any type of normal activity just was out the question. They was out chasing highs and lows. But anyway, he'd go down in the basement, get the cleaning up and straighten things up the way he wanted them to be. Because Miss Gilda had already went down there and cleaned up or whatever, but he'd do things to his standards. Penitentiary make you like that. Now that he done served his time and completed his stay at the halfway house, he had a bed down in Miss Gilda's basement. His probation officer was off the break on his ass about getting a job, because that was part of his release package. He had to have employment. But anyway, every day he had to get up off his ass and go look for a job. It took him a few months, but he finally lands a gig for a painting company called Royal Painters. Now how the job worked, you would get your own painting truck with your supplies in the back, and in the morning when you come to work, they send you out on jobs to paint houses inside and out. So Tadpole gets hired, they give him a truck and everything. He making $18.50 an hour. His boss was an old white dude named Mr. Tom. Mr. Tom was a fair guy, owned his own business for 42 years, and he mostly employed people in the neighborhood. The paint shop was nothing but about 4 or 5 blocks away from Tadpole mother house, up Park Heights. So he basically walked to that interview. But anyway, Tadpole wasn't much of a painter, but he needed the gig. He knew enough to get by, so fuck it, that's what he was doing. Now, at first, Mr. Tom was sending him out to paint picket fences and shit like that. A front door or something like that. And all the outside work was cool. The problem wasn't until Mr. Tom sent them on a job to repaint the kitchen. Now, the kitchen he was instructed to paint was in the house of a beautiful young lady in her 20s. She lived alone and she owned a catering business. And no sooner as Tadpole saw the woman, he just couldn't believe his eyes at how drop-dead gorgeous she was. Straight out of magazine type shit. Brown skin, picking all the right braces, long brown wavy hair, beautiful eyes. Could have easily been a supermodel. Any makeup company, any magazine. But anyway, her name was Crystal, and her catering company was called Catered by Crystal. Well, she needed her kitchen painted over and didn't have time to do it herself. Her schedule was booked. So through a family friend, she reaches out to Mr. Tom. Mr. Tom sends Tadpole to come paint the kitchen. Just to give you a little background on the history of the store. So boom, being as though Tadpole's an older dude, she definitely wasn't looking at him like that. He was old enough to be her father. And Crystal had a boyfriend who came and stayed over the house 3 nights out the week. So when Tadpole first met Crystal, her boyfriend was there at the house. But he quickly figured out on his own that Slim didn't really live there. So she wanted the kitchen painted a certain color yellow. So he had to strip all the old paint off and all of that. Now because he liked Crystal so much, in his mind, he was going to stretch this job out long as he could. So basically some shit that only supposed to took 1 day ended up taking 2 days. Now the thing about Tadpole is this. He's a hypersexual creature. What I mean is you have people such as myself who understand no matter how bad you might want it, we understand no. Then you got dudes like Tadpole who when they hear no, their response is, I gotta get my nut off, I gotta get it off. Then try to apologize later. Oh no. I mean, it was so bad with Tadpole, he was so hypersexual that this man would get a hard on and had to go outside and take a walk at work type shit in the middle of the job. Until one day, Crystal was in the house. Her boyfriend had just left before Tadpole showed up. This was day 2 of the job. So for day 1, he had just stripped the paint out, painted a little section, made it seem like he was doing something, but he was stalling. So on day 2, as soon as Slim rolled out, Tadpole was in the kitchen bullshit. She run upstairs, jump in the shower. So Tadpole, he working, pushing the brush, he working. But while he be at work, he be sneaking and drinking beers and shit out his little cooler that he be having his lunch in. Old 6-pack in that motherfucker. He be tipping beers while he painting and shit. But anyway, he had to pee. So Crystal had already told him, like, if you need to go to the bathroom, just go upstairs, make a left as soon as you get to the top of the steps, down the hallway, all the way to the end. That's the bathroom, right? But he make his way upstairs. And he got left, go all the way down. But when he get to the bathroom, he hear shower water running. So he like, oh, she in there? Tadpole would take and put his ear up against the bathroom door. He heard Crystal in there singing in the shower. He starts pacing in the hallway, walking back and forth, fighting demons, because he know this the perfect time to get her. But then again, on the other hand, man just got out of prison. But him being the sexual creature that he is, the thought of opportunity is overwhelming circumstance. He stops pacing, standing there in the hallway for a second, weighing his options. He was horny as a goat, so without giving it any further thought, he starts unloosening his belt. He creeps over to the door, turn the knob, and slowly push the door open. Crystal in there singing with her back turned, ain't paying him no mind. Shower water running. He tiptoes into the bathroom, snatches the shower curtain open. He jumped back in the water. He grabbed her by her throat, punch her in her ribs, boom, and spin her around. Tadpole was a strong dude, and Crystal was small, just like Shantae was. But anyway, he whips out his manhood and started ramming her from behind, like a jackrabbit. She screaming, he covering her mouth up. He hunting hard as he can. Then within 2 minutes, he reaches climax. Inside her, she crying. He pushes her up against the wall in the shower, pulled his pants up, cocked back his right hand, and boom, knocked her out cold in the shower. His clothes wet. He turned the shower off, grab a towel, get the wiping his clothes off, drying his clothes. He then picks her up off the shower floor. She out cold. Carries her all the way downstairs in the kitchen and wraps her up in the tarp that was on the kitchen floor that he used for the paint droppings while he was painting the kitchen. He rolled her body up in the tarp, walked back out on the front porch, light a cigarette, look around, check for the neighbors, go back in the house, grab the body, take her out to the van, throw in the back of the painter's van. He go back in the house, straighten up the bathroom, wipe everything down, wipe the banister down to the railing upstairs, wipe everything down upstairs. Then he grabs a hammer that she had laying around, goes back out to the van, gets in the van, in the back of the van with the body, close the door, and start wailing on her head. Boom, 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 with that hammer, killing her in the back of that van. Once he felt like she was dead, he climbs back out the van, closes the doors, goes back into the house, finish painting the kitchen, collect all his paint supplies, leave out the house, close the door behind him, hop in the van that said Royal Painters on the side, and pulled out of Crystal's driveway. He jumps on the highway and take her body to a wooded area all the way out Towson, Maryland. He pulled down in the woods, dragged her body out the van. Forgetting that he didn't have a shovel, he lays her body on the ground and run back to the van, checks the back of the van, no shovel in the van. He like, fuck! He continues to drag her body deeper into the woods. Once he gets to a spot he feels comfortable with, he started grabbing debris, trash, cardboard, anything he could find, plastic bags, and place it on top of the tarp that her body was in to make it appear like trash, tree branches, tree logs, things like that. Once he felt like he did enough, he started jogging back to the van. It was still broad daylight. He didn't want to see nobody. He didn't want nobody to see him or the van parked down in the woods, so he hurried up and got out of there. The adrenaline rush that he got from doing what he had just done was like no other. The ultimate high that even heroin couldn't give him. And he was a recovering heroin addict. Even heroin couldn't give him that adrenaline rush. He pulled away smiling. That bitch pussy was good. When he got back over west, he pulls into the parking lot of the Royal Painting shop. It was 3 o'clock, time to clock out. He turned in the keys to the van and walked home. As soon as he got in the house, he hurried up, jumped in the shower. Meanwhile, back at Crystal house, her boyfriend, who had been calling her all day, Tavon, pulls up over the house. He whipped out his key, but when he tried the door, no, it was already unlocked. As soon as he walked in, he could smell fresh paint. He walked in the kitchen, he see the paint job got done. He get to yelling out her name, Crystal, Crystal. He ain't getting no answer, but her car's still in the driveway. So he go upstairs, walk all through the house, bathroom, all the bedrooms. She ain't there. But he go back downstairs, get on the house phone, call her sister, Keosha. But Yosha ain't seen her either, or heard from her. So to Tavon, that's kind of strange. So he tell Keosha, like, man, call around and see if anybody's seen or heard from her, because her car's still here in the driveway, and that's just something weird about that. So she asked, like, you don't think nobody could have came and picked her up or nothing? And Tavon like, no, I don't think so. So she like, all right, let me get on top of her. They hang up the phone. Getting worried just a little bit, because that's unlike his baby. Back in Miss Gilda's basement, Tadpole leaned across the bed, smiling with a big grin on his face. His first piece of pussy in 25 years. And she was the baddest thing he ever seen in his life. But anyway, the very next morning, he get up bright and early for work. He picks up his keys, starts up the van in the lot. He got a crispy all-white painter's uniform on. The one that he wore yesterday, it was in a plastic bag ready to be thrown in the dumpster. He goes in a utility closet at work and grabs a shovel, puts it in the back of the van. Mr. Tom gives him a job to paint a living room over West Baltimore, Emerson Avenue. He leave out the shop early this morning. He tell Mr. Tom he getting ready to go get breakfast. But instead of going to go get breakfast, he slides out tossing back to the woods. Go over to the body, get to throwing all the debris that he had put on her yesterday, throwing it off of her. Then he started digging a ditch. I'm talking about fast, because he knew he had a job to do on Emerson Avenue, 8 o'clock sharp, so he had to hurry up and dig that ditch. Well, Tadpole digs a 4-foot ditch. Using his foot, he kicks Crystal's body in the ditch, and without hesitation took the shovel and started refilling the hole. Once the hole was filled back up with dirt and Crystal was buried, he then took the debris and put it back over top of the hole, covering up the grave site. Checking his watch, he had 30 minutes to get to Emerson Avenue. He hurry up, hop in the painter van, pull up out the woods, making his way to the city. The whole time he driving, he thinking, damn, I ain't trying to be late. Because if the customer reported, Mr. Tom, write it down. And if you get 3 of them, you get 5. So he flying through traffic. With 10 minutes left, he pulls up on Emerson and Demison Street. He hop out, run up on the porch, ring the bell. After a couple seconds, an older woman comes to the door still in her robe, holding a cup of coffee. She had a scarf on her head, tying her hair down. Now, for 52 years old, Janice, who was always the it girl in her day, when she was in her prime, she was fine. And I'm talking about thick. She had them hazel eyes and cocoa brown skin, about 5'8", beautiful. When she opened the front door, Tadpole, not knowing what he was about to see, had to do a double take. But as soon as she seen him, she started smiling. He had to tell him, like, I'm the painter, man. So she came out onto the porch and started explaining to him that she had her nephews and stuff moved the furniture and everything already. So the living room was ready to be painted. She was a retired correctional officer. Straight out of high school, that was her first job. And our last one. She was divorced, 3 kids. They was all in college. She had 3 vehicles, doing good for herself. Only reason she didn't move off Emerson Avenue is because she owned that house. And until she was ready to sell it, she was going to live there. But anyway, this woman was known for having a fat ass. Her whole career as a correctional officer, all the inmates throughout the prison system used to go crazy over her. But anyway, she goes back in the house, into the kitchen to sit at the kitchen table, drink her coffee, and watch him bring his paint buckets and stuff in the house, like unloading the truck. Tadpole finally get all his brushes and buckets and stuff in the house, his rollers and things. He noticed Janice sitting at the kitchen table with her legs crossed, whole thigh hanging out. She on the phone talking to one of her good girlfriends, telling her about the color she get in the living room painting and future plans and all of that, right? He ear hustling listening as he set up, but he keep peeking over at that thigh. She being nice and polite, showing him that Baltimore hospitality, offering coffee, water, or whatever else he needed. But when she offered the coffee, he said that would be nice. She gets up from the kitchen table, but when she spin around, dumps like a truck. Tadpole standing there mesmerized, like, oh, he's super fat. She poking through the bathroom. I'm talking about poking, Pokemon. Tadpole could feel his manhood start to rise. She come back with the coffee, hand it to him. He takes the coffee, tell her thanks, and she sit back down at the kitchen table. Meanwhile, down at the police station, Tavon files a missing person report. He gets Crystal's whole family together, her mother and all them. They all come over to the house. The detectives come over, get to looking through Crystal's house. It didn't appear that no scuffle or nothing like that happened. So the police asked Tavon, like, why does it smell like fresh paint in here? So he get to telling the detectives, like, oh, she had just got the kitchen repainted. So they asked him, like, oh, she hired somebody to come in and do it? Tavon, like, yeah. The detectives get to asking, all right, when was this? Blase, blase. He get to running it down. He gives them the number to the company, Royal Painters. Crystal mother and them all worried. They pacing back and forth in our house, talking about it's just unlike her. So the detective's like, yeah, we need to get in contact with this painter. Now Tavon, like, the painter, he was an older guy. Dark skin, funny looking. The police just jotting all this down. But anyway, back on Emerson Avenue, when Tadpole finished painting the living room, Miss Janice went on here and gave him a $30 tip. She just asked him if he didn't mind, could he bring some boxes up from down in the basement for her. They was too heavy for her to lift. Sit him outside for the garbage truck. So he quickly agreed. It's cool. Sure, no problem. So still wearing this bathrobe, she opens the basement door. I'm like, come on, let me show you which ones I'm talking about. She get it going down in the basement. Tadpole tucks the money in his pocket. He's still hard as a cinder block. Shit sticking straight up in front of him to where he got to keep his hand in front of him and walk a certain way so she don't notice. But anyway, they get down in the basement. It's still dark. She looking around for the light. Tadpole's so horny, his legs shaking. There was a mattress standing up, covering up the light switch. When she slid the mattress over, like there it is, she flipped the light switch up. When she turned around, Tadpole was standing there holding a hunting knife in one hand and his manhood in the other. So soon as she see him, she like, what the fuck? He just standing there with this demonic look on his eyes. Crazy ass look on his face. She's like, what the fuck is you doing? He looks over at the wall. He tell her, lay that fucking mattress on the floor. Now, lay it on the floor, bitch. She looking at the seriousness in his eyes. She lay it on the floor. He tell her, drop that fucking robe. Drop it. She dropped the robe. She had on like a workout outfit on. She wasn't naked. She's scared, shaking, and crying. But she don't know that's turning him on. He tell her, take that shit off. Like, yo, why is you doing this? He's like, bitch, take that shit off. She takes off everything. At this point, his shit throbbing. He tell her straight up, do what I tell you to do, and I won't kill you. So when she hear this, looking at that big ass knife, she like, fuck it. That's what she thinking in her mind anyway. He tell her, he like, lay on your stomach. She crying and trembling. She lay on the mattress. He pull his pants all the way down, lay on top of her, get her going to town. 3 minutes tops, and he was done. He kissed her all on the back of her neck, licking the side of her face as he climaxing in her. But no soon as he finished, he leans up and starts slamming the knife in her back. He screamed, ah! First the screaming stopped, then she stopped moving. Covered in blood, she laid there lifeless with her eyes wide open, ass naked. He gets up, pull his pants up, run upstairs, gather some cleaning supply, and get the painting top. He quickly come downstairs, roll her body onto the top, wrap her up, start cleaning the basement. He opened the basement door, and instead of taking her upstairs, he drags her out the basement side door, lays her body in the driveway, hurry up, run around to the front of the house, back the van in, tosses her body in the back of the van. He goes back into the house, get the bleach, mop bucket and all that, get the cleaning the basement. Pine salt and everything down. Wipe down the railings, wipe down the doorknobs, wipe down everything. This time he locks the front door, close the door behind him, hop in the van, ride off in the sunset. What it is? So Tadpole decides to take Miss Janice's body to the same secluded woods out in Towson, Maryland, where he took Crystal's body at, and buried her only a few feet away from Crystal. With no moral compass, no regret for what he done, he finished off the rest of his workday as if it was a regular day at the office. When he turned in his truck that day, Tom had asked him, was the customer satisfied with his work, because he had been trying to contact her. He ain't even get no answer. Her money had already cleared and everything, but he was just trying to touch bases with her. Tadpole assured him she was happy with the work he had done and gave him a $30 tip. So Tom like, oh, okay. Tadpole turned the keys into the van, clocked out, and started walking home. He loved the adrenaline rush, the excitement he got from doing the unthinkable. He walked home, gloating in self-pride for what he had did to Miss Janice. All he kept thinking in his demonic mind is how soft her ass was. He couldn't even get the smirk off his face. When he got back to the house, he see a teenage girl and a teenage boy sitting on the couch in the living room that he had never seen before. So when Miss Gilda heard him come in the house, she come up out the kitchen. She was in there cooking. She come out the kitchen and let him know, boy, look, these my brother kids from New Jersey. They down here for the summer. They gonna be staying with us. Cause Tadpole brother had went to jail and his sister was in rehab. So they was gonna be staying in their rooms. So hearing this, Tadpole like, oh yeah, okay. He introduced himself. He get a young dude of 5, let him know I'm your cousin. And he gives the girl a hug. Pulled her in close, smelled her, then pulled back, let them know if they need anything, let them know. When he smelled her, alarms went off in his head, bells and whistles. She was so pretty and smelled so good. He went down in the basement, clinging to that smell. He was so excited she was staying there, he almost forgot about what he had did with Miss Janice. He get to taking his work clothes off, preparing himself for the shower. Now, in Tadpole mind, he's sexy. Because he was in prison different weeks, in his mind, he think he's sexy. So his way of trying to get women is showing off his physique. His muscle. Same shit he used to do in the prison yard, walk around the female officers with his shirt off out in the big yard type shit, prison shit. So this demonic motherfucker, he takes everything off and leave nothing on but a towel wrapped around his waist. Grab the soap and his rag, come back upstairs from the basement. The two teenagers, they still sitting on the couch. So when he come out the basement, he the first thing they see. He comes straight up out the basement door, make eye contact with the girl. She looks, but then looks away, feeling kind of creeped out about her. But in his mind, she was looking at his chest. But anyway, he cut through the living room up to the third floor where the shower at. Go in the shower, cut the water on. He stands under the shower and masturbates to images of Janice in that basement. But it's flashing from Janice to the cousin that he just met. He fantasizing about them both in the shower. You see, Tadpole had an irregular sex drive. And when I say irregular, I'm talking about just the sight of a woman gets him like a man that done took 10 Viagra pills. But anyway, he climaxed in the shower, then started washing up with a smirk on his face, laughing at about how Miss Janice was begging him to stop. So the next morning, Tadpole showed up for work bright and early. Stop at the coffee shop, get some donuts and some coffee before he get to work, gets his keys in his van, and he waits in the lobby for Mr. Tom to let him know where he gonna be getting sent to work this morning. So as he's waiting, two detectives walk into the shop. Plainclothesmen. He's sitting there on the bench. He sees them come in, flashing their badges. Mr. Tom walk out. They go in his office. Now Tadpole worried, like, what the fuck going on? He got a guilty conscience already. He started to get up and leave out the shop, but he told himself, don't panic. He could be here for anything. But then Mr. Tom's office door opened back up, and Mr. Tom called Tadpole in the office. When he get in there, the two detectives standing there in the corner. As soon as he come in, they flash their badges, tell him who they is. And they just get to ask him questions about Crystal and what happened that day at the house. And he told them he just basically came in, painted, and left. And they asked him, like, was she still at the house when you left? He was like, yeah, she was still there when I left. So he asked the detectives, like, why, something wrong? And let him know, like, yeah, she been missing. So he playing dumb. He like, oh, man. And so he playing dumb. The whole point of the detectives coming there was to just see if maybe he seen her leave out the house or something like that. He wasn't a suspect yet. So the detective stayed, talked to Mr. Tom for a little while longer, left some business cards, and they was gone. Tadpole, a little shaken up, goes out to the van and sit there in deep thought. Now, he knew that as long as the body wasn't found, he didn't have to worry about forensics, DNA, and all that stuff. And he felt like he had him in a good spot. So all the worry started to wash away. In his mind, he knew he would get away with it. But anyway, as he started the van, Mr. Tom come out and hand him his instructions for the day. He had a garage to paint over West Baltimore, Harlem, and Bentlow. He takes the instructions and directions from Mr. Tom, place them in the center console. Tell Mr. Tom he on it, he got it. Mr. Tom pats him on the shoulder, go back into the shop. Tadpole pulls the van out the parking lot and stops at a red light. While he waiting for the light to turn green, he don't even notice the same two detectives that just left out the shop trailing behind him. They had the same light, 3 cars behind him. When the light changed, he get to making his way to Harlem and Bentlow. They follows him all the way to the job. So when he reached the house, he quickly get out the van, open up the back of the van, start taking his paint buckets and stuff out. But from across the street and down some, he was being watched by the detectives. Because when they ran his name through the database, it came back that he was a convicted rapist. Man just served 25 years straight. So to the detectives, he was a person of interest. Not a suspect, but a person of interest. They watched him ride around doing small paint jobs all day. Some porch steps here, a fence here, a door there, little small miscellaneous jobs all over the city. But what the detectives didn't know was all his customers that day happened to be males. See, they hadn't put 2 and 2 together yet. So after following him around that day, Yeah, so after following him around that day, they decided to keep a surveillance on him. And because he was out on parole, it wouldn't be hard to get a search warrant for his residence. But in the meantime, they was going to keep surveillance on him. So Tadpole went on about his day, unaware that he was being followed. He gets off work like it's a regular day. When he got to the house, his mother, Miss Gilda, was leaving out with his younger cousin, the teenage boy. He was on their way to the market. He was going to help her carry the bags. They hop in Miss Gilda's Cadillac and pull off. So when he get in the house, he hurry up, go down in the basement, get the undressing, throw the towel on, t-shirt on, get to making his way up to the third floor, bathroom to take a shower. Now when he get up there, he walking down the hallway. As he walked past one of the rooms, there's a crack in the door. His younger cousin, the teenage girl, she was in there asleep, laid across the bed, in nothing but some thong underwear and a bra. The door was tightly cracked, so the only way you could see it is to put one of your eyes up to the crack. And that's exactly what he did. Wanting to see more, he pushed the door open a little wider. In a matter of seconds, he was hard as a brick. He drops the towel, exposing himself. He's standing in the hallway, jacking it down, looking through the peek of the door, fumbling himself. Unable to control himself, he pushes the door open. She wakes up, rolls over, and sees him standing there with his manhood stiff. No underwear, just a t-shirt. She get this scream. Ah! He slammed the door closed. Boom! Jump on the bed and wrap his hands around her throat. Snatch the panties off. And you can use your imagination for the rest. Once he reached his climax, he just started mercilessly punching her in the face. Boom, boom. All his might and force, knocking her out cold. He then gets up off the bed, walk over to the stand, snatch the boombox cord out the wall, raise the boombox and get to slamming it on her head repeatedly until the boombox broke in half and she lay there dead. He quickly wrapped up in some bed sheets, drug her body down the steps and down into the basement. Hurry up, run back upstairs, get to cleaning her room. Take the broken up pieces of the boombox, throw them in the trash can. Take the trash bag out the back of the house. Walk through the fence behind his. Yeah, so he go through the fence through the back of the house and puts the trash bag with the boombox in it on the curb opposite from his house. Then he went on here, run back through the gate, go back in the back of the house, close the door. He go down in the basement, takes the girl's stuff out down in the ice box he had down in there. Close the top and put a bunch of shit on top of the ice box so nobody can't open it up. Plus he had a lock for the basement door. So once that was done, he go back upstairs to the third floor and further clean the room to make sure he ain't leave no traces of him behind. After he was finished, he went downstairs and sat on the couch, waiting for Miss Gilda to get back with the car. Cause he knew that was the only way he was gonna get the girl out the house, unless he wait till he go to work tomorrow and get the van. That would have been easier. But his nerves was getting the best of him. He wanted to get out the house. I had to sitting on the couch for about an hour. Miss Gilda and the teenage boy come back through the door with the bags. She tell Tadpole go get some of the bags out of the car. So he go out to the car, grab the bags, come back in. But while they stand in the living room, Miss Gilda tells the teenage boy to go upstairs and get his sister, tell her to come downstairs and help her put the groceries away. But when he go upstairs, he come back down like she ain't up there. So Miss Gilda asked Tadpole, like, did you see such and such leave out of here or something? That's when Tadpole was like, as a matter of fact, I did. She ain't tell me where she was going, though. She just left out the front door. Probably went to the store or something. Miss Gilda like, oh, okay. And she just went to putting stuff in the kitchen, waiting for the right opportunity. Tadpole went on here and asked, like, Mom, can I get the car keys real fast? I need to make a run over East Baltimore real quick. She's like, all right, go ahead, just put some gas in it. He grabbed the keys off the table, like, all right, Mom, thank you. He tell her he got to run some of his paint supplies down there. Now, right as he about to leave out the house, the two surveillance detectives received the phone call to come pick up the search warrant. So as he leaving out the door, they pulling away. He didn't see them. They didn't see him. Just missed each other. So they going to go get the search warrant for his mother house. Meanwhile, he backing the caddy up in the driveway next to the basement door. Miss Gilda, she thinking he putting paint supplies in the trunk. Whole time, he done put the teenage girl in there. Snuck out the basement door, hurry up, threw her in the trunk. Closed. He pulled out the driveway, onto the street, jump on 695, get to making his way out Towson. He takes her to the same secluded wooded area, just feet away from where he buried Crystal and Janice. He lifts her up out the trunk, get the shovel out, quickly start digging that ditch. When he was finished packing the dirt on top of her, throw the shovel in the trunk, slam the trunk down, hop in the caddy and peel off. But as he pulled up on his block, he noticed the police cars. His mother, Miss Gilda, was standing out on the front porch with his cousin, the teenage boy. So as soon as his mother seen him in her car, she pointed to the car like, there you go right there. The police look over, he parks, get out, walk up to the porch. Ask the police what's going on. They tell him he not under arrest or nothing like that. It's a search warrant for the home. They looking for Crystal. They trying to locate Crystal. But he like, I don't got nothing to do with that. He like, sir, because of your arrest history, we felt as though we should obtain a warrant to search the premises. Being as though you was in her home the day she went missing. Miss Gilda standing there listening to this like, what? That's when Tadpole get to telling her like, yeah, ma, I did some work at this lady's house. Did the job, completed the job. And because I worked in her house that day, they saying I got something to do with her coming up missing. They think I got something to do with her coming up missing. The detective was like, no, sir, we not saying you had nothing to do with it. This is just standard procedure. Miss Gilda like, he just come home, he ain't got nothing to do with that. He been on the right path. So once the police get to searching the house, they don't find nothing. Crystal not there. So they apologize to his mother. Told her they just doing their job. So when they left, Miss Gilda was upset. And on top of that, she just kept saying, the girl, her niece, ain't even came home yet. She worried about the girl. All Tadpole was standing there thinking, oh my goodness, I got her out of this house in the nick of time. If he'd have waited a couple minutes later, they'd have found that girl in the house because they'd have been in there looking for Crystal and found her. He shook his head like, wow. So the very next morning, Tadpole got up early for work, still a little shaken up by the night before, because that was a close call. He walks to the job. He was a little early, so he goes and sit in the lounge area, pour him a cup of coffee, turn on the early morning news. Well, apparently, some guy who had been out in the woods doing a little squirrel hunting came across a shallow grave that had appeared to be dug out by foxes. Some foxes in the woods done dug up a body. And when the police got there, they removed 2 more bodies from the soil. That shit flashed across the TV. Breaking news. 3 bodies pulled from Towson Wooded area. 3 females. When Tadpole seen that, he dropped his fucking coffee. So Tavon gets waking up early in the morning by the telephone ringing. It's the detectives letting him know that Crystal is deceased and she's been unearthed. She was found in the Towson Wooded area with 2 other women. Hearing that shit, Tavon just completely lost it, man. And screaming, no! He throw the telephone, and he never felt no pain like that. Crystal was his sweetheart, talking about devastated. He gets up off the floor and pick up the phone receiver and yell into the phone, what happened? The detective's trying to calm him down, he tell him like he think it was a sexual assault. DNA analysis will be conducted on the body. So Tavon yelling in the phone, who the fuck could have did that? Tears coming down his eyes. The detective tell him like, we don't have any suspects as of this moment. We have a person of interest, but we don't have a suspect. So Tavon like, person of interest? So they asked Tavon to come down the precinct. He telling me on his way. He slammed the phone down. How about to get dressed? He jumped in the car, heartbroken, flying down to the police station. When he get down to the police station, he park and quickly hop out, run up in the police station. He asks for the detectives. They come out the back, take him in the interrogation room. They get to asking him a bunch of questions as if they feel like he is suspect, which infuriated Tavon. He goes off on the black detective telling him, man, fuck you, man. I ain't got no shit, man. That was the love of my life. In the attempt to defuse the situation and calm everybody down, the white detective asked the black detective to step out the room so that he could talk to him, because it was obvious that Tavon felt disrespected by the black detective's questioning. So the black detective walked out the room. So Tavon asking him, irritated, like, man, so what did y'all mean when y'all said y'all had a person of interest? They let him know, like, well, he's not a suspect yet, but the guy that painted the house that afternoon was a convicted rapist. Served 25 years in the Maryland prison system, convicted in 1967. So based off this alone, he's a person of interest. So hearing that, Tavon like, convicted rapist? How the fuck he even get a job while he coming to people's houses, man? Detective like, Tavon mad now. Because the detective's telling him that, it's like the detective's telling them Tadpole did the shit. Because right there in that moment, Tavon put all the blame on Tadpole. There was nobody else to blame. The detective's like, man, look, I know you're upset right now, but I need you to run it down one more time, your whereabouts on the day in question. It's just for a matter of record. Then the officer reached over on the table, picked up the tape recorder, and pressed play. So Tavon went, he knew what they was doing, so he went on here, ran it down, explaining how he was at the barbershop and then he went to the market that day. His alibi was his little brother. They went to go get their haircuts together. So after going through all the formalities, Tavon walked up out the police station, heartbroken and furious at the same time. When he was leaving out, Crystal family was coming in the police station, all upset. Her mother and them, sisters and them. But when they see him, he don't get the response like how he thought. It was always love between them. But because of what happened, they automatically assuming he possibly got something to do with it because he the boyfriend. And getting that type of energy from them just even more broke his heart. When he got in that car and pulled away from that police station, the floodgates just broke. Tears started flowing. He had planned on starting a family with Crystal, marrying Crystal, vacationing, the 9 with her, man. This shit was just devastating. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. The conversation he had with the detectives just kept playing over in his head. Personal interest. And he didn't know Tadpole's name, but he remembered his face like it was yesterday, crystal clear. His emotions getting the best of him, he pulled over on the side of the road and just let it all out, broke down on the side of the road, just let it all out. After about 15 minutes of sobbing, he started to collect himself, and right there in that moment, he decided he wasn't about to go home. He cut the car back on, turned the vehicle around, and go back the opposite way. But anyway, Tadpole gets up from the lounge room table, palms sweating, heart beating fast, panic starting to set in. That lounge room he was in was starting to get smaller and smaller. He walked over and switched the TV off. In his mind, he knew it was all over. He knew he was going to prison. Cause sure as shit, they was going to pull DNA from the bodies. Tadpole standing there, his mind racing. Fuck, I'ma do. So Mr. Tom comes out his office with Tadpole's instructions for the day. Little paint jobs he gonna send him on. He hands Tadpole the instructions, go back in his office. Tadpole snatched the keys, hop in the van, but instead of going to the job site, he pulls up back in front of Miss Gilda's house. He running the house, but as he's entering the living room, he can hear Miss Gilda on the phone talking with the police about the teenage girl never coming home. And he could hear the worry in his mother's voice. So when he did finally enter the living room, his little cousin, the teenage boy, was sitting on the couch crying, worried about his sister. So Miss Gilda was just hanging up the phone when he came in the living room. He asked her, like, "Mom, what's going on?" She crying. She didn't come. Gilda like, she ain't come home. Something done happened. I just know it. That's unlike her. I just know something done happened. Tadpole wrapped his arms around his mother, kiss her on the forehead, tell her, "Mom, everything gonna be all right. Just keep your faith. She gonna come home. She probably just hanging out or something. Don't worry so much." Miss Gilda shaking her head. That's just unlike her. Tadpole tell her, he like, "Look, I gotta go to work, but I'm gonna come back through here during my lunch break and check on y'all. Make sure y'all good." So Miss Gilda like, "Okay, baby." Tadpole go down the basement, break out the duffel bag, get to putting all this important shit in there and change the clothes and things of that nature. Cause he knew once they did a DNA test on them bodies, it was ball game for him. So the only thing he could think of was disappearing. Because there wasn't no going back to prison for him. After serving 25, So after he packed his bag, instead of going back up the steps and having to face his mother again, he leaves out the basement door, walk around to the front of the house, hop in the truck, knowing he probably wasn't going to never see his mother again. Now, his plan was to try to get Mr. Tom to pay him early, because he wasn't supposed to get his check till Friday. But he figured him and Mr. Tom was cool. He had just tell him he had a family emergency. Tom should understand. So as Tadpole pulled up in front of the Royal Painter shop, which was only a couple blocks from his house, he go back in the shop. He knew he had about a half an hour before he was supposed to be at his first job that morning. So he quickly walked in the shop and go in Mr. Tom's office. Mr. Tom was on the phone, so he had to wait a couple seconds for him to get off the phone. Once Mr. Tom hung the phone up, he asked Tadpole, "What can I do for you?" So Tadpole get to running the sob story down to him about how his lights getting ready to get cut out. He ain't got no food in the refrigerator. So he asked Mr. Tom, like, "Could you pay me today so I can get out this hole I'm in?" Mr. Tom thought about it for a second. He said, "You know what? I like you. You've been a good worker. I'm going to do this for you one time, but don't make it a habit. It's the first and last time we're doing this." See, that's all Tadpole needed to hear. Mr. Tom go in his drawer, break out the checkbook, write him a check, hand it to him. Tadpole like, thanks, Mr. Tom, appreciate it. Gave him a handshake, he was out the door. Meanwhile, Tavon pulled up in the Royal Painters parking lot as well. He pulls into a parking space in front of the building, shut the engine off. Being as though the Honda he drove had tents on it, he was incognito. He reached under the seat, grabbed a 9mm Taurus, checked the safety, cocked that bitch back. Now, it was a lot of Royal Painters vans that look identical in a lot. He looking around at the painters coming out the shop, going to their work vans with their white painting uniforms on. So Tavon watching everyone that come out the front door, behind the tents. He reached in the glove compartment, pulled the ski mask out, set the ski mask up on top of his head. His nerves was bad, so he went on ahead, lit up a cigarette. So he's smoking and watching the door. When he went to go crack the window to pluck the ashes, here come Tadpole walking out the front door, looking at his paycheck. As soon as Tavon seen him, he knew exactly who he was. He looked a little deeper, like squinting. Like, yeah, that's that bitch. Tadpole is oblivious to what's going on around him. All he think about is hurrying up, get down to that check cashing spot, cash that check, get the fuck out of Dodge. But anyway, so much anger just overcame Tavon. He pulled the ski mask down, opened the car door, hop out. He looked around, nobody paying him no mind. Without hesitation, he runs over to Tadpole full speed with that bumper in his hand. Tadpole standing there looking at his check count, licking his hours. When he lifted his head up, eyes got big as a bitch with no time to respond. Tavon just started bumping that bitch. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody started running. Motherfuckers diving behind them vans. As soon as Tadpole hit the ground, he walked over, stand over top, and let that 9mm eat his face. Blah, blah, blah. And the final bullet came out the chamber. Tadpole was unrecognizable. Tavon quickly run back, jump in the Honda, peel off the lot. Skrrr. Run back, jump in the Honda, peel off the lot. Skrrr. He jumps out in the traffic in the two-pipe Honda, floating with his adrenaline rushing. He looks over to sit the gun on the passenger seat, and when he looked back up, he smacks dead into a Lincoln Continental, striking the car driver door, instantly killing the old woman. Crash knocked him out cold. And he come to, when he wake up, the car surrounded by police.